We're back.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Coffee Break with presented by Hair Revival with Blake and I. I'm Michael. This is Blake. If it's your first time here, thanks for joining us. If you haven't liked and subscribed for our channel, go ahead and do that if you want. And we don't have a lot of time, so we're going to jump right into the topic today. I've got my coffee. Blake, you got your coffee?
Got my coffee.
Awesome. So yeah, our topic today is around around being a healthy creative and what that looks like, what that process is like, and some of the things that Blake and I have learned through the years in the industry. So with that, Blake, you got some questions for us?
Yeah, man. I appreciate it, Michael. Thanks for getting us opened up here. I really excited about this topic. Um, I think that me and you both were really excited about this topic. We, not to say we're the most healthy individuals in the world, but I think that
Yeah,
we've begun this journey of addressing this like emotional health. We've both been in therapy for quite some time, and done therapy, and we've both read books and kind of pursued this thing of what it is to get emotionally healthy. And the more I look back, the more I think, man, there's a big gap in the hair industry and probably all creative industries and maybe even all
right,
industries, but specifically
right,
creatives, because we put ourselves out there, and without the tools, proper tools, it can just really crush your soul. And I feel like a lot of people get pushed out of this industry, who are really incredibly talented, that just didn't have the right tools. And so what I hope to do today is
right. Yeah,
get
yeah,
this conversation going, and hopefully get some tools out there in the hands of some creatives that I've picked up along the way, and then maybe grab some. And honestly, I know we kind of mentioned it would be so awesome if we could even interview a therapist or a psychologist here one day, and get some even more, I guess, just more insight from a professional.
yeah. Some more resources, some more clarity. I love the use of like the word tools
Mhm.
in this context because I was in like the construction industry or like when I was younger, so I built houses and all kinds of stuff. Anyways, like whatever you're doing, like in that industry, you have tools, or even in the hair
Mm.
industry, you have tools, right? You have
Mhm.
your clippers, you have your shears, you have your razor, you have all these things, and you can't do your job without these things. So
Yeah.
painting this picture of like building a collection of tools
Yeah.
for emotional health is a really cool way to kind of look at it. And you sort of build these tools in your tool belt like
Yeah.
one by one, right? They sort of start accumulating over time, and you look back and you're like, oh wow, like I got all these tools that I can use when I'm feeling emotionally unhealthy, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, do you have any? Are there any tools that come to mind, like that you picked up or learned along the way?
Yeah,
Um,
man. Yeah, there's so many. First off, I'm not an expert. And I love how you said, you're like, we're not the most, emotionally healthy humans talking about these things. But I think that's what's beautiful about the journey. And
yeah.
9 times out of 10, when I have these conversations with someone sitting in my chair and I open up vulnerability with something that I'm struggling about or something that I'm like figuring out or something, I always am met with the same sort of response of everyone is in the same place of trying to figure it out, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Trying to take those steps to be on the journey and the process. And so I think everybody's journey and process looks so different. And I'm definitely by no means an expert. And I really think like in this, like you really kind of with the help of others, and with the help of like reading and things like that, like you really kind of have to figure it out. Like you have to figure out what works for
Yeah.
you. You have to take kind of a broad look at all these tools that I'm going to say, or you're going to say, what's worked for you, what's worked for other people. It might not work for you,
Yeah.
but I do think that there are like some nuances or some things in as we begin to unpack this
Yeah.
that you can draw from, that you can use, that you can put, pen to paper or
Yeah.
apply to your life. And so I think some of those things, and for me, like, man, I've been through so many like mental health issues with anxiety, depression, fear, lack
Hmm.
of confidence,
Yeah.
fear of men, fear of people, and all these things. And it's really shown up in my business and affected it in a very negative way. And I think that's important to note that, like, not pursuing emotional health can really affect you when it comes to your day to day with your clients, your day to day with your
Yeah.
coworkers,
Yeah.
your day to day. Like back when, like early on, like I would remember struggling with depression and anxiety so much, I would just call and cancel days.
Mm.
I would call or cancel certain clients throughout the day where I was just like, I couldn't function.
Yeah.
And I find the healthier that I get emotionally, the more and more those days are behind me.
Yeah.
And that's a really cool thing to see the fruit of this like pursuit of health, right?
Yeah.
And I think some of those for me is like therapy. Therapy was sort of the first sort of
Yeah.
step in that right
Yeah.
direction. And through therapy, um, I started learning these tools, and I started learning how much like I sort of didn't love myself,
Yeah.
and I started learning ways to love myself, and some of those ways to sort of be present with myself and love myself were just simple things like meditation.
Hmm.
I think that is like the biggest thing for me right now, Blake,
Yeah.
is this idea of mindfulness,
Yeah.
because I already know what I need.
Yeah.
Like I have done the work to know my story. I've done the work to understand a lot of my triggers and understand
Yeah.
what's happening and why I'm acting out a certain way. And so
So what did therapy,
when I
how did therapy help you? How did therapy help you?
yeah, that's good. So therapy helped me in building. Number one, it helped me with learning how to be kind to myself and accept myself for my limitations and my
Okay.
shortcomings,
Okay.
and the things that I wasn't perfect at.
Yeah.
But I think it also really helped me just in the practical day to day way of journaling,
Yeah.
journaling my thoughts, journaling my
Hmm.
emotions, journaling my fears. It also it's taught me this idea of mindfulness and this idea of being present with my what I
Wow.
used to think as negative emotions, but now
Yes.
I recognize them as necessary emotions or just uncomfortable emotions.
Right. Yeah. I
But
kind of want
learning
to,
how to sit with those, right?
yeah.
Sit with those and lean into those, explore those areas.
Yeah. I think that's really important. I think that that's, kind of a lot of what I've learned in therapy too is, you mentioned like you would cancel your whole day, and that's, it's sad that you had a day where you couldn't create, and but the thing
Right.
is what I've learned is it's okay to have a bad day, you know,
Yeah,
and so
that's
whatever
good.
that looks like is like I didn't ever allow myself the same thing. I always realized through therapy and and other books and stuff that I wasn't able to um I didn't ever allow myself to have these negative emotions, which I really don't think are negative emotions, but they're it's the life we get to live, and so we've talked about it on the first podcast about how everything you accomplished that was good, you had to go through something really hard to accomplish it,
Right.
and so I
Yeah.
think embracing these emotions, journaling, and so I think that create. And if we look at creatives in the history of creatives, like some of the best creativity comes out of like pain, and
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
yeah, and like I lost my grandfather last year, my mom's dad, who I was close with to a degree. I grew close to him later in life, and I there was a moment where pain hit my heart. I didn't know how to process it. It was the first time I mourned a loss, and out of that
And
place, I wrote a poem, and it changed. It's just such a way for me to revisit that, and I would say an emotionally healthy experience where before I just never allowed myself to feel.
yeah, I love that. You would have like essentially kind of numbed out to those emotions. And maybe if you're like me, maybe that would have made you spiral in different
Yeah,
directions or cause you to cope or numb with different things, whatever that might be for you.
yeah,
I think that's a huge thing. That's a huge tool that I've learned as well is
hmm,
creating from that place is therapy, right? So
yeah,
I just started painting. So you chose to create something out from. I think it's really important to have things from not okay, how do I say this? Have things that are not in the studio, that not are not salon and that are not industry focused. Have things outside of the industry that
Yeah.
you're creating that are
Yeah.
inspiring you and that are like used to heal you. So for right now, like I've been painting, right? And
Yeah.
this is one of the tools that I've been using. When I grab an art canvas and I start painting, even if I don't know what
Hmm.
I'm doing, I feel parts of my sort of self being placed on that canvas. And I
Yeah.
feel my soul begin to be inspired, to begin to be healed, and to begin to be creative. So sometimes I think it's really important to use one of those tools is to find something that you love, find some purpose, find passion, find creativity outside of the salon.
Yeah. And that's easier said than done. But I think it's one of the things I picked up is this year in a book was the principle of just doing. That you find motivation when you do, which is so hard for someone who's struggled with depression, which I've struggled with depression, I've had depression.
Right.
And when you're depressed, it's really hard to get going. But if, if you can just take that step and paint that canvas or, you know, whatever that outlet for you is of creativity, for me, it's writing. If I can just get to pen on paper or, you know, if I can just start typing on a note, it usually will kickstart something. Um, man, I knew that we were going to blow through today because this is something we're both passionate about. We're about 4 minutes, t minus 4 minutes left of the stream. We might have to run this into another. Um,
Yeah.
I wanted to give I wanted to give people hopefully some tools, and I think that therapy is a great
Practical.
tool. BetterHelp is a great website, a great resource I've used. It's really cool for therapy. You can it's you can like message the person any time of day, and I would message them at like 9 or 10 at night when I'm like, hey, I'm just feeling depressed, and and then they would give me something practical to do, and then we would
Yeah.
meet that once a week. What about
Yeah.
you? I mean, anything else?
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, it's such a big topic. There's so much to talk about. We can talk about this for hours and hours and still just be scratching the surface because there's it's so nuanced. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think finding like, community is important. Um,
Yeah.
Facing those things that continue to come up in your life and plug you, like actually leaning into those places, journaling about them, writing about them, talking to a friend about them. So community is huge, having a tight knit community, finding something that you're passionate about, something that you love to do, and doing that.
Yeah.
Going on a walk. There's eating healthy, working out, exercising, all of these little things that if you can do these, like
Yeah.
start off small and build into these big routines, they're life changing over time.
Yeah, like a ritual, putting a ritual in your calendar.
Exactly.
I go
Yeah.
on a walk with my kids, or I go on a walk with my wife
Yeah.
at five
Yeah.
o'clock every day, or whatever it is. I think that that's so because then you have something to look forward to. So me and Esther have
Exactly.
what we call walkie talkies, and we go walk and talk, and we just
I love
talk
that.
it out, and it's amazing. I did want to mention another thing. I got Zach Harvey commented. Zach's in the comments. Zach's one of our stylists. Love you, Zach. He's saying, "Let's go." I know this is all about. Zach loves this topic too. He's
Yeah.
big on this kind of stuff and health, and had a great journey I've been able to be a part of. But one thing that I saw this morning, I busted it back out a couple days ago. But this book called Boundaries. Um,
Yeah. That's
it's
huge.
it's a book that it's Henry Cloud and Townsend. It's written by two psychologists, and it's a number one New York Times bestseller for a reason. But when I started to understand that I could have boundaries, and that I don't always have to let everybody in on every little thing, or there's some times where I need to draw this line. That's been so healthy for me, and this
Yeah.
book gave me permission to do that. So if you feel like if you don't have control of your boundaries, or haven't even ever asked yourself that question, I highly recommend that book. I'll put it in the
Definitely.
description for anyone who's looking for it.
Yeah. And I would just say, like, if you're struggling, like, at all, ask for help. If you're struggling mentally and you
That's good.
continue to face these cycles that you can't overcome, there's someone out there that will help you, that will literally take your hand and walk with you
It's
through this
true.
process and journey
It's
of
true.
health.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so true. Well, Michael, we're at 30 seconds out. I mean, I like to keep these short. I don't know what you're thinking. I think that we can do you want to just continue this next week and then
Yeah, I think that's good.
okay, so I think right now we're still getting some. We've got one visit scheduled with Tina, one of our stylists, and we're going to do an interview with her. Not this next Thursday, but the Thursday after that. I think it's the 28th or 20,
27th, I think. Yeah,
27th. And
something
so
like that.
we look forward to that. Um, and then I guess as far as we'll just see you next week, and maybe we'll continue this path of emotional health. We'd love to see you then.
Yeah, love it. See you guys.
Peace.